Small section for you so you get a sense of her voice and a sense of her spirit and how she's going to help her family overcome a lot of obstacles that they face in the U.S. Okay, so when the book first opens, the family, the mother of Nia, the protagonist, is a single mother struggling with 5 little children in Texas. When they discover really good news, they have living relatives who've also made it to America. And not just any relatives, but a rich relative, a very wealthy uncle and the mother's older sister. And they're alive and well and living in Nebraska. Business paradise. And they are running a Chinese restaurant, which everyone knows is like running a bank. And so they just pack up their bags and they go driving to Nebraska to help run the restaurant. And then they discover things are not quite as they'd hoped. The relatives aren't wealthy anymore. They're heavily indebted. And people in Nebraska don't like their kind of Chinese food. So anyway, I'm going to read you a section where Nia, she's working in the restaurant, which is called the Silver Palace, with her older sister, Sodi. And I'll give you one example of what she encounters and how she deals with it. Okay. Once when Sodi and I were working alone in the palace that fall, just the 2 of us and the elderly cook, some men got drunk, and I stabbed one of them. I think I was about 12. I don't remember where Ma had gone that night, but I remember we were tired and it was late. The palace was one of the only restaurants that stayed open past 9. The men had been growing louder until they were our only customers, and finally one of them staggered up and put his arm across Sodi's shoulders. He called her his China doll, and his friends hooted at this. Sodi looked distressed and tried to remove his arm, but he held her tighter. She said, "Please," and in her incensed, sweet voice, and he smiled and said, "Say to get nice, and I might just have to give you a kiss." Now I was panicked. I wanted Ma to be there. Ma would know what to do. She always did. I stood there, chewing my nails, wishing I could make them go away. The men's voices were so loud in my ears, I was drowning in the sound. I ran into the kitchen. I had this idea to get the cook and the cleaver, but the first thing that caught my eye was this little paring knife on the counter next to a bowl of oranges. I grabbed the knife and ran back out to Sodi. "Get away from my sister!" I shouted, waving the paring knife. The men were silent for about 3 seconds. And they burst into laughter. "Ooh, looky here. We got a little dragon lady on our hands." That's Dragon Chica to you, old man, I thought. In charge, stabbing men in the sleeve. In a movie or a television show, this kind of scene always unfolds in slow motion. But everything happened fast, fast, fast. I stabbed the man. Sodi jumped free. Ma came rushing in the front door, waving her arms. "Oh my God, what happened?" "Jesus Christ!" The man shook his arm as though it were on fire, but the paring knife was stuck in the fabric of his jeans jacket. I thought Ma would take care of everything now. And I was right, she did. But not the way I had imagined. She started apologizing to the man, and she helped him take off his jacket. She made Sodi get the first aid kit from the bathroom. "Quick, quick!" Ma even tried to put some ointment on his cut, but he just shrugged her off. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to take the knife back and stab myself. That's how I felt when I heard her say, "No charge, on the house," for their dinner, despite the $50 worth of pictures they'd had. Ma grabbed me by the shoulders. "Say you're sorry. Say it." I pressed my lips firmly together and hung my head. Then she slapped me. I didn't start crying until after the men had left. "But Ma," I said, "he was hurting Sodi." "Then why didn't Sodi do something?" Ma twisted my ear. "You don't think. That's your problem. You always don't think." After the men left, Sodi said I was lucky. The knife had only grazed the man's skin. They could have sued us. They could have pressed charges. "I don't care. I should have killed him. I should have killed that sucker." Sodi's face changed. I'd never seen my sister look like that. Not ever, especially not at me. I was her favorite. But she looked then the way I felt inside, like a big bomb was ticking behind her eyes. Sodi frowned at me grimly. "Oh no, Nia, don't ever say that. Don't ever talk like that." I was going to smile and shrug and say something like, "I was just kidding," but something inside me couldn't lie this night. I crossed my arms over my chest, and I stuck out my lower lip, like I'd seen the tough girls at school do. "Anyone mess with me like that, I'm going to kill him." Sodi took me by the shoulders then and shook me so hard I thought she was going to shake my head right off my body. She wouldn't stop even after I started to cry. Stop, stop, I begged. I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Finally, she pushed me away from her and sat down heavily in a booth, her head in her hands. Although she'd been the one hurting me, she looked as though she'd been beaten up, the way she sat like that, her shoulders hunched over her lap, as though she were trying to make herself disappear. I was trying to protect you, I said through my tears. I was trying to save you. You're so stupid. I should just let that man dish you. Sodi's head shot up, and I could see that she had no patience left. Her eyes were red, and her nostrils flared. She stood up, and I took a step back quickly. I thought she was going to grab me and shake me again, but this time she just put her hand on my arm. They could take you away. The police. They could put you in a foster home. All of us. A sharp pain coursed through my whole body, as though Sodi had handed me the hot end of a live wire. We all knew about foster homes. In Texas, Rudy Gutierrez in 4th grade was taken away from his parents after the teacher noticed some bruises on his back. He tried to shoplift some paydays from the 7-Eleven and got caught. When his dad got home that weekend, he let him have it. But after the school nurse took a look at him, Rudy was sent to live in a foster home. The Gutierrezes couldn't speak English so good and didn't know what was happening until too late. Anyway, what kind of lawyer could they afford? We heard later from his cousin in Mrs. Chang's homeroom that Rudy's foster dad had molested him. The cousin said Rudy ran away from that home, but he got caught. At any rate, none of us ever saw him again. You want to go to a foster home? Sodi asked me. No, I whispered. Then don't be so stupid! I started crying again, because I realized Sodi was right. She kissed me on the top of my head and hugged me to her. I leaned my head against her soft breast that had only recently emerged from her chest, and pretended that I was a good girl, and that I would always obey her. What I didn't tell Sodi was that I was still a wicked girl. I was glad I'd stabbed that man. I was crying only because life was so unfair.